Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to another weekly episode of Everything Vaguely Paranormal. As always, I am Blake Smith. With me are my partners in the paranormal, Miss Shelley Pruitt, Mr. Ryan Roberts. How are y'all doing?
I'm ready for this night. Come on now. We're going to get some arguments going. I can tell already.
Yeah, I feel this one's going to be a lot of fun. This one is going to be very chilled, very relaxed.
Yeah.
We have no agenda on this. It's a little different for us. We usually give y'all a story, but we decided, hey, you know what? They love our Q&A episodes a lot. Why not? Let's just pull back the curtain a little bit and just talk about some of the things that we have learned, seen, understood, came to believe in the paranormal realm. So,
and we do this a lot. A lot of people ask us, well, why do you think that? What's your core belief? Where does this come from? And this is something that we've talked about. Like, we ask each other these questions all the time. Why do you believe this way, or why do you think it's that way? And some of them we discuss on the podcast, but a lot of these are discussions on phone calls where we're arguing back and forth and questioning each other's judgment and sanity sometimes.
Yeah.
So we figured we'd put this live on there for you so you can actually be part of a phone call of what we would usually do. Shall we say, and wish we could hear your phone call? You're about to get to.
You're probably about to get to. Yeah,
Right.
Yeah. We're going to see how deep this one's going to go tonight. Tonight we're just going to be talking about some of the theories in the paranormal that we're either always asked about or that fascinate us the most. And we're just going to be touching on different topics. We each brought one tonight. We're going to present it, talk about it, discuss it. So hope you have your popcorn ready, because this one, this might be a whole episode of popcorn. We haven't figured
it might be a
out
popcorn
yet.
episode.
So I'm gonna kick it off because
All right.
one of the things, I think, if you're a paranormal investigator, I think one of the things that you get asked a lot about, or possibly even get said to you a lot, is you're talking to demons. It's Satanism. You're worshiping the devil. I'm sure we've all heard that.
Well, I am his mistress, so
You are his mistress. Yes,
we're just friends, though. We're just friends.
You came from the deepest, darkest pit of hell, so
Gotta go home every now and then.
Yeah, you got to go back and repack every now and then. Do your laundry, stuff like that. So one of the questions that I get asked a lot is basically, how do we know what we're talking to? What are these things that we're talking to? I label them as basically kind of like Earthbound Spirits. That is a good, all-encompassing kind of definition that I give them. And I do not believe that everything that we're speaking to is a demon. I don't believe it's Satan worship or anything like that. Satanism, that we're talking with the devil and stuff like that. I know.
Not that some people don't do that, but I think most of the ones you're talking to, I think that they're just earthbound.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So one of the things that I'll crack it open with one of my main beliefs of why I believe that we are speaking. Why can you talk to Grandma's spirit, even though Grandma is supposed to be in heaven, or she was a bad lady in hell? We don't know. We're going to hope Grandma went to heaven. But one of those things is, for me, is like a parallel realm almost. So I interpret heaven and hell different. I actually don't typically use those terms for those areas. A lot of people think, heaven up, hell below. Heaven's actually a little to the left. You got to kind of cock your head. No, I'm just kidding. Anyways, for me, I lean into the phrases, heaven is a place on earth and it's hell on earth. I kind of take those a little bit more literal, if you will. So it's like a parallel realm. I believe that heaven and hell, or good and evil, exist right alongside us, coexisting here on earth. So when we say they cross the veil, they cross to the other side, that's the literal transition. You're just transitioning to this other realm that exists alongside us. That's why they know what's happening in our lives. They, when you talk to a medium or go on a paranormal investigation and you get these answers that connect with certain aspects of your life or what you're dealing with, what you're going through, I think that's why they know these things. A lot of people will say they're looking down on you from heaven. I think that they're experiencing it with you, beside you, just across the veil. So I think
maybe they're stepping through a door, like they can just lean out and look and see what's going on and then go back in their room.
I mean, kind of, if you want to. I don't know.
Think about the layout of a house,
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about like necessarily going back into a room per se or anything like that. I think this is going to sound funny to say, but I think that they have their own lives on the other side. they have their ghost friends and they go ghost parties. They do all of that kind of stuff. But
Play a little ghost bridge.
Yeah, play a little ghost bridge, but they also are able to connect with us on this side through different means, whether that is your mediums, your paranormal investigation equipment, through gifts, being able to show themselves. These moments where the veil becomes so thin that for just a split second, both of those realms kind of cross each other and exist in the same realm together. I think that's why you're able to experience this paranormal activity. Go ahead, Ryan.
Do you think that some of them are cranky because we're interrupting their ghost bridge game, and that's why they come across and they're fucking pissed at us?
Matt locks on and we're being too damn loud.
They might be, but well, I mean, it's like case in point. I have done spirit dice sessions here in this room where I'm currently sitting, and I have spoken to my grandmother, and that's one of the reasons why I just don't believe that, you know, some of these things that it's demons that we're talking to, because it comes through with the same kind of tone, even in dice. That's the crazy part. It's kind of like how you can know somebody's tone through text message. You know, it's like I know my grandmother's tone whenever she comes through in dice, and it is spot on. And she's telling me to stop asking too many damn questions.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because she's told you to leave her alone. Not in so many words before.
Not
right?
in so many words. I asked her. I was like, "Why? You know, tell me about this." And she's like, "Won't." And I asked her. I said, "You can't, or you won't." And she was like, "Stop now." And I could literally hear her going, "Blake Allen." You know, like, I mean, the tone of it was there. So yeah, I think that when you go to the other side, life exists after this. You just cross over that veil. And so therefore they're existing alongside us and experiencing life with us. That's why they say, you know, they live on through us. You know, they get to experience this life through our eyes. All of these things. I think that our ancestors, our spirit guides, all of these spirits are existing around us all the time. No matter where you go, there are spirits everywhere. I tell them to stay out of the bathroom, you know, because I don't need.
And stay out of the bedroom. Don't be weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have 2 rules. Don't fuck with me in the shower. Don't fuck with me in my bed, because I'm typically naked in both, and I'm very vulnerable.
I wonder if they're like, "Oh God, he's doing it again." Oh.
No, I'm sure one of my great grandparents was looking down, like just seeing the old coffee table that I'm now using as my altar.
Can you mark this?
Huh?
Okay, I need you to mark about 5 seconds back, because I just heard a laugh in this room.
Are you kidding?
Really? Okay.
I don't know if my mic picked it up, but something just went.
Female?
It was in this room.
8 minutes and 45 seconds. I will let y'all know right now.
Back it up.
Shelly is actually here at my house with me right now. She is back in my grandparents' room. And that is the room that my grandmother actually passed away in.
Is that the one you stuck me in that time?
No.
And I don't know if you can see all the hair on my arms are standing up on end. But just before we started, I told Blake, I said, it sounded like the bed behind me creaked. And he came in to look, and it literally looks like somebody had sat on it and stood up.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
There was an imprint on the side of the bed.
Yeah.
So, hey, Grants, we're cool. Just let me get through this.
Yeah. She's good back there. Just leave her alone. So, yeah, Shelly's actually at my house in my grandparents' room. That is the bed that my grandmother passed away in. So it would not surprise me. That is the area of the home where I do see my grandmother very often. So I know that she kind of resides back in there. She's just saying, hey.
Yeah,
so
I'm not upset by it. I want you to mark it, because if I heard it, I hope to God it got captured.
8 minutes and 45 seconds. 8 minutes and 45 seconds.
She said, "Who's this bitch in my room?"
Well, it's just funny because Blake was just talking about it, and like Blake Allen, and it was like, ha ha. So I just heard it. I just wanted to mark it. I'm sorry. Continue on with your fabulous story.
Fine. You're fine. She would have actually found that funny too. So yes. Another reason why I think that we have what I classify as earthbound spirits, and the ones that we communicate with on investigations, is because another belief of mine is, just as we have a grieving process on this side, I know I've said this several times on this podcast, we have a grieving side on this process. We are mourning the loss of these people that we have these shared experiences with and that we love and all that stuff. They too, on that side, I believe, have a grieving process. And I think during this grieving process on that side, I believe is when they try to reach out to us to let us know that they're okay. You know, it's the reason why I think my great grandmother showed herself at the foot of my bed 2 days after she passed. Okay. You know,
because you were grieving so profoundly.
Yeah. Do you think it's so much of a grieving process on their side, and not so much as I just want to make sure everybody's okay before I move on, because I know they're going to be sad, but I'm going to be in a better spot?
I think it's a combination. I think it's a
Okay.
combination of the two, because I do think that on the other side that they definitely, just as we're grieving the loss of them here in the physical world, I think they have to grieve the loss of the fact that they aren't here either and can't just run up and hug us or talk to us or, you know, whatever. So I do believe that it's a little bit of both. I think that they're also going to want to check in on us because they see their family hurting. They see their loved ones hurting. And so I think they take that time, especially in the days after death, weeks, months after death, why a family may experience more paranormal activity, because I think it is the loved one that is trying to let them know, hey, I'm okay. I'm checking in on you. I know y'all are hurting.
Maybe not even just paranormal activity. A lot of people report having very vivid dreams of their relatives shortly after they pass.
Yeah, absolutely. And I definitely believe that dreams are a visitation as well. But besides those two main beliefs, I kind of tend to fall into the category of a lot of different other more mainstream reasons why there are what we classify as earthbound spirits. Your traumas, your sudden deaths, your unfinished business, emotional attachments or attachments, period, to certain objects, to certain people, places, the fear of moving on to this other side. I think that that's the attachment, I guess you could say, to life itself. Some even an unawareness of death. So I think that those play a lot into it as well. But I think the reason why we have earthbound spirits and why I don't classify them as anything other than that is because we coexist with them. They don't pass on and go up or down or away or anything like that. They
go
right
left
here.
or right.
Basically, they do a little shuffle, you know, and they're like, I'm over here. Now I'm over here. Now I'm over here, you know. So I think it's just, that's also ties into my beliefs of the different realms as well that coexist alongside one another. I think that's just the realm they go to. And I think that's why we have earthbound spirits. And when you meet somebody and they say, oh, I talked to grandma, don't turn around and just be like, no, that's the devil. That's the demon. No.
Just because your grandma don't talk to you, she don't love you. Don't use it as mine. No, I would never say it that way. Don't you call my grandma the devil. I'll whoop your ass on principle. Don't you call my grandma the devil.
I don't know. My great grandma was kind of mean. She might be.
My great grandmother was an absolute witch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the nicest way I can put it. My grandmother was wonderful, but my great grandmother she was a piece of work.
And see, and I think that also lends credibility into the belief of your darker hauntings, even, or why you may have a convergence of spirits in one location. I think there may be like some type of shared energy as well, on the other side, that like attracts like. So if there possibly was a very traumatic death, they may be, whether it took place, let's say, in a hospital or not, they may be drawn to a hospital's location because of all the trauma that takes place in a hospital.
Do you think the hospital, hang on, let me ask you a question. Do you think ones that reside in hospitals, do you think that they go back looking for their body? Maybe that's why they go back into the same room over and over and over, because perhaps they're looking for that physical body that they know they were in there. That's the last place they were. Do you think that's a possibility?
Possibly. I think that could fall into a couple of things: unawareness of death or the grief on the other side. Not wanting to accept. We all know the cycles of grief. Acceptance is one part of it. If they don't want to accept it, they may be going back to look for their physical body, but not wanting to believe that they are actually dead. Or they may just be well, if they're looking for their body, I would want to say that falls under the grief cycle, because they wouldn't, if they're looking for their body, they'd be aware that they are dead. You know, so yeah.
Or maybe they're confused and that's the last place that they knew they were.
Right.
I have to ask, because I would almost think that I'm gonna try not to go too far into what I believe on this, but if that's the last place they knew they were, and suddenly they're not sure of what's happened to them, and they go back and like, the last place I was here, and maybe there was a mirror in the room, and every day when they were in that hospital room, they could see themselves in a mirror, or they saw the same people. Well, how come now when they walk past that mirror or they walk past those people can't see them? And so perhaps they might be looking for their physical body because they've got something they need to say or they want to say. And because maybe they can't see themselves anymore and they're hunting that physical body that they recognize. Is that possible, do you think? Because that would make the most sense to me why hospitals are haunted. Because who would want to go back to a traumatic place to stay other than to be in search of the last place you saw your physical form?
Well, I think that's a good point, but I think that still falls under the acceptance level of the grief cycle on the other side. If you can't understand why you can't see your body or these people can't see you, you're not willing yet to accept the fact that you are dead, that you are on the other side. You are a spirit now. And so therefore you're
Confusion.
trying to reclaim, quote unquote, your physical body so that you can say something, be seen, or get a message across. I think that is an aspect of that grief cycle on the other side.
Right.
I think they have to be willing to accept the fact that they have passed, that they have crossed the veil. And if they're unwilling to do that, I think I think that explains your different levels of paranormal activity as well. If somebody is unaware, not willing to accept that they are dead, they may be trying even harder to get attention of the living of this side.
Maybe so poltergeist activity.
Poltergeist activity. Your door is open. The knockings. I'm trying to touch you, but I accidentally scratch you. Things like that. Yeah, I think that's what that would fall under, is that kind of a grief cycle acceptance level. Go ahead.
I want to ask you a question along the same lines, but I think it's more of a physical explanation.
Okay.
Possibly. Do you think, because as much as, as paranormal investigators, and we're talking about things moving into different realms and things of that nature, we also know about different composites of different minerals and things that buildings are made out of. Do you think that that's a possibility, that these composites are keeping them trapped in one place and keeping them from moving on into the next next stage is?
Are you talking about caves that are haunted that have a lot of limestone, that kind of thing?
Right. There's a lot of quartz,
notoriously haunted.
Like quartz and limestone. And so some of these hospitals could have been built, especially the older ones.
Limestone rock.
Yes, especially the older ones using those materials. And so could those spirits be trapped and not be able to move on to the next realm because of the material?
Ryan, that's a very good question, because now I'm interested in how many buildings that we know of, haunted locations, that people can go to. What is their mineral composite makeups? How much of it is built of limestone? Because we know down here in Texas, there's a lot of limestone buildings, a lot of them. And I'm now wondering, I want to know now, somebody will look this up and find out, what are the composition of these buildings that are haunted supposed to, because you're going back to stone tape theory. What is recorded within the rocks and within the walls?
Yeah,
that's kind of... Is the makeup of that wall, does that directly contribute as to how much information is retained?
I think you would have to go so far as to where did the building materials come from, and then look at what was either done in or around that area of where it came from. If the intention that was done on the land, on these, mineral deposits, or when you, dang it, I can't think of the word, where they, oh my God, I'm blanking.
Quarries?
Yes,
like
thank you.
Okay,
yes, thank you. That's the word. I was like, what the hell's the word? Where they go get the stone at? If on these quarries or around these mineral deposits, if there was something of an intention to entrap something that seeped into the ground, then you get the stone tape theory. It plays into, if they come to the quarry, they take this whatever and they go build this building with it, with this intention that it was meant to trap something. Is that then for the reason why these spirits are trapped inside this building? Because the intention that was originally done on the land, not necessarily the intention of, or what the building itself is built out of.
So you're saying if it came from cursed rock for whatever reason, and it's built, even if it was cursed rock in Louisiana and it gets in California, that the rock is still cursed itself?
Well, it's kind of like, in short, yes. Let me just quickly answer. In short, yes. So basically, it's a good example of being like, okay, if I know that, I don't know, let's say my crystals here in the house, in and of themselves, just sitting there, have the properties that they have to be able to cleanse, But if I pick one up and I want to make it part of a ritual, and then my intention is to use this for this purpose, Let's say to entrap a spirit. I would never do that, but let's just say we're going to roll
Right.
it because that's what we're talking about already.
Mm-hmm.
Then I have now put my intention on it doesn't even have to be a crystal, but this object. I've now put my intention on this object that its purpose is to
Let's just say a stone.
entrap a stone.
Mm-hmm.
Its purpose is to entrap a crystal. And if that is the ritual that I'm going for, then no matter where that stone goes, my intention's now on it.
Right.
So somebody uses it to build a driveway or make it part of a street or crush down to be part of concrete.
Yeah. Then it could unintentionally trap a spirit because of my intention that is put on that due to the stone tape theory.
Right.
That the surroundings, the environments, stones record
but
the energy that is put on them.
Right. But taking intention completely out of the equation.
Okay.
Do you think that, like I said, if these buildings are made of these composite materials that we know seem to enhance paranormal activity or paranormal activity seems to happen around, do you think that just those physical materials could possibly trap a spirit and keep it from going into the next dimension?
I don't
attract it.
I don't think I could go that far as to say that. I would go more or less along the lines. I think that the properties of certain things that we know the buildings in Texas are made out of, limestone, sandstone, stuff like that, would be more of a electrical current, if you will, to be able to help induce spirits to produce paranormal activity. I wouldn't say that necessarily the properties in and of themselves would be reason to trap the spirit. I think that what is done within this building, as I just said, maybe the shared energy like for like, because there's so much trauma.
Right.
Maybe spirits who experienced a lot of trauma are drawn to this, maybe because it is the energy that they pick up on, a vibrational sense, a frequency sense, or something like that. Sorry.
You're okay, man.
I think that would be more or less the reason why these spirits are pulled into these buildings, not necessarily just the properties of the stone that the building's made out of. I think the properties of the stone would be more of an electrical charge to help charge the building to produce paranormal activity than it would trap it.
Okay. I was just curious because it seems like sometimes these buildings do keep spirits from leaving, and I was wondering if it could be the actual physical composite of the building or if it could be something else that we're not necessarily privy to that's keeping them trapped in this location.
Or sometimes there's a spirit in a building that has no business being there. Like you find a child in a jail, a child spirit in a jail. Now I got whole theories on child spirits. Anyway, but that would, if the composite material might make some sense, and the traveling of the intention and the building of that and it being a beacon, because it might have been part of something else in the past. And being a beacon to a spirit, maybe that's why that one spirit, nobody has any proof of this spirit ever being in this building or ever being in this location. Not only because it might be lost to time, but also because perhaps they came along with the materials that built it. It's an interesting thought, Ryan.
Well, that's like, if you think about the Texas Capitol talks about so many hauntings because the mine, the quarry that it was mined in, you had a lot of death and you had a lot of hard labor that was used to mine that quarry.
Right.
And so people think that some of the ghosts that do haunt the Texas Capitol could have come from the quarry, from where they, where they hauled that stone.
I think that would fall under maybe that shared energy type umbrella, because if you have this area where all this negativity took place, if you're thinking of the stone tape theory, that all of that is recorded within this material, and then they take this and they go and build the Texas State Capitol with it, then that spirit who is on the other side, but existing alongside our realm, just in another realm, I feel like can pick up on their own energy if it is recorded within that, and it might be what draws them to that location. Okay. Which could also explain, Shelley, your child theory in a jail. Depending on what that jail's made out of, where it came from, did something happen with said child that imprinted on the material that the jail is made out of, therefore attracting the child to the jail after the child died.
So a spirit can show up based on memory.
In a way, yeah. I think it'd be more of an energetic pool than it would be necessarily a memory pool. Does that make sense?
Well, yeah, because you'd be more apt to go somewhere you feel familiar than you would to go somewhere new.
Right.
Yeah.
And if that material is now part of a jail or a Capitol building or someone's house, if that was part of if you recognize your energy and again, this is all speculative, but if you
Mhm.
recognize your energy, you're going to go towards the familiar. So, okay,
Yeah.
that makes a lot of sense why you might
Yeah.
find something somewhere that
Well, because
isn't
we go,
supposed to be there.
yeah, we go off more scientific theories of if energy can either be created nor destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
Energy's got to go somewhere.
Changes forms,
Yes.
right?
Mhm.
It's got to change form. It can imprint on something. We talk about Wi-Fi like it's nothing. All these signals
Right.
that are out there and all these energies that are powering all this stuff to be able to connect to the Internet of Things. But yet we can't believe that there is just energy out there that can't be created or destroyed.
Right.
So it's got to go somewhere. So yeah, of course it may imprint somewhere. And then that gets a pull to a spirit that's passed on because that's their matched energy. How, I mean, it's kind of like going back to your hometown and going to your favorite
Right.
spot. You don't have to have the directions. You just find it because you sense it. You know where it's at.
Okay.
You know. So I think that could help explain maybe why a spirit is somewhere that it's not supposed to be.
Could be. That's interesting.
I love discussion of Earthbound Spirits because
Mm-hmm.
my favorite thing to hear all the time is that I'm talking to demons and the devil, and it's Satanism of what I do. So there's my belief on why I don't think it's demons. Now,
Mm-hmm.
I do believe that demons exist
True.
on that realm, or the negative, the bad, whatever.
And I believe I've talked to one, probably more
exists.
than one.
Yeah, I believe we all three have talked to one in one particular location.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But I think that they are more up for more nefarious shit
Mhm.
than just your Earthbound Spirits. So that's kind of my belief on why I don't think that.
Right.
No, everything you talk to is not a demon. If you feel like you're talking
Most
to
of them
grandma,
aren't.
you're talking to grandma. You know.
I mean, and Blake, you would know more so than anybody else on the screen right now. They would have to be summoned. You wouldn't just come across them randomly, right? Almost.
That's where a lot of the working theories in demonology and the demonic gets.
That gets real muddy because
It
that
gets
depends
so
on your
muddy.
own personal belief.
Mhm.
And
It
I
gets
think
so muddy.
right.
Right.
evil can come to you whether you summon it or not.
I'm saying, but those specific entities. I mean, yeah, we've had
think
negative, nasty
that
shit show up before, but not
If you're
necessarily.
talking about just straight demons,
Yes.
just straight demonic entities,
Yes.
I think that there are several reasons why they can be in a location. I would not classify those obviously as Earthbound Spirits because I think that Earthbound Spirits by definition has to have been human at some point.
Right.
It is the
Has to have a
spirit
human
of
soul.
a human.
Right.
Yes.
Soul.
Demonic entities are not Earthbound Spirits. Demonic entities
No.
are just what they are, demonic entities. And I think that, yes, they can be summoned. Number two, I do have a working theory belief that they're a trauma of sorts, trauma, drama, whatever you want to call it, of sorts can bring them into a location. If a lot of negativity is taking place in a location or at a location, I think that falls under that shared energy theory that they are pulled to those locations because they recognize like for like.
Right.
And I think they can feed off of that fear, that trauma, whatever is taking place in that location. So summons, I think you have several reasons about why they can exist in a certain location. Most often than not, is my opinion, that the belief is whether intentional or not, they have been summoned into a location.
Right.
Especially depending on what it is. If it resides inside a hospital, a chapel, whatever, places where possibly demonic entities shouldn't be, I do believe that, you would probably have to be summoned there.
A hospital go ahead.
I was going to say, I think of demonic entities kind of like a biker gang whenever they run into a cop. Because see, in a biker gang, they all collect up together. And if you biker gang, I'm here for it. Y'all have fun. But in order to become part of a biker gang, a lot of the more nefarious and notorious ones, you have to have a felony. So a cop rolls up, who want a felony, who want to be part of the gang. And then because that negative energy feeds that, they're going to get their felony by assaulting a cop. Now you're in the gang. And I think that energy feeds and feeds and feeds, and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So I think of demons as like a whole bunch, biker gang, real badass one. And again, I'm here for the biker gang. I love y'all motorcycles. But I'm not going to join your group. Appreciate it. You probably don't want me anyway. But.
And so basically, so that's my whole theory, working theory on Earthbound Spirits. I think that to wrap it all up, I think that there is existence of realms alongside of ours. That's why we can talk to them. They are a human soul at some point. They had to have been human. A grief process. Those two of the realms and the grief process are my own personal ones. And then I also do subscribe to your general ones of unawareness of death, trauma, sudden death, blah blah blah, stuff like that.
Mhm.
And a little bit on the demonic. But I didn't want to touch on yours because there could be another take to it.
Right.
Because you have a working theory
I
on
do.
interdimensionality.
I do, and you kind of touched on it with the realms existing side by side with each other because. So I wrote mine down just to get it started, to get the discussion started, because I don't want to like.
Look at him! He came over prepared. Go figure.
I mean, it's nothing like super crazy. It's just all right. So what I said was, it's the interdimensional theory that you've heard me talk about before. Which you can get real in the weeds with it, but I kind of broke it down to the simplest way that I knew how to break it down to. So I see, that's the paranormal theory that entities exist on other planes of existence or dimensions that are kind of parallel or running right alongside our dimension. And what we experience in the paranormal, or what we call paranormal phenomenon, the words are hard today. What we call paranormal phenomenon is actually an overlap of the two or other dimensions that run alongside of ours.
Okay.
I said, and so those dimensions, some scientists describe them as like, I think it's Einstein. I can't remember the other name, bridge. It's it's a wormhole, that basically these entities are able to jump between the two dimensions, and there's something that basically the conditions are just right where the two dimensions overlap with each other, and you have these entities coming through. Which is why I think you have certain hotspots around the world where there are multiple variations of different paranormal activity. I mean, be it like cryptids, UFOs, ghost phenomenon, poltergeist activity.
Do you think that has anything to do with ley lines?
I mean, I don't know how much I really believe in ley lines, honestly. I mean, that's a possibility.
But there's quite a lot of paranormal activity of all kinds that happen along ley lines.
Yeah.
You can follow those lines throughout the United States.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe one that we saw was that I know that in Kansas, we were tracking those across.
But talking about at Belvoir? Is that where?
No,
I
think the Sally House falls on one. I think we were tracking across. Yeah, where they all tend to cluster in certain places along these ley lines. So that's why I was wondering: do you believe that ley lines have the ability to make these parallel worlds actually converge a bit based on the gravitational pull or where they are?
It could be. I mean, and it could be because if you believe in ley lines, you believe in like these energy lines that run across the world.
Thank
somehow.
You. Energy lines.
Yes.
I'm trying to be too fancy with my
it's
words.
okay. I mean, that's a possibility if ley lines do indeed exist. I'm not sure. I'd have to do more research into ley lines because I've always heard about that, especially like, when you're looking at like, and people talk about them a lot with Stonehenge and stuff like that. I have to look more into ley lines, but that's a possibility. But I do think that wherever these hotspots are occurring, it's almost like the conditions are just right, or the veil is the thinnest in some of these areas where this happens because, like I said, you have all this different activity manifesting itself in different ways in these areas. So I said, this is, kind of like too, like, whatever these things are presenting themselves in different ways along these hot spots. And Dr. You know who Michio Kaku is? He's always on like all the physicist shows and stuff on like the History Channel.
Oh, I know who he is. Yeah,
Michio Kaku. Yeah, he's so interesting. He's super smart. And he was the one that kind of introduced me to string theory, which kind of folds into this, but not really. But he theorizes that you have all these different dimensions, right? And they're kind of existing alongside each other like pancakes stacked on top of each other, okay? Now, every pancake is its own individual thing, but they're a part of a stack. And when you have like, so say like you pour syrup over a pancake, you have like, it's a conduit for these pancakes to kind of overlap with each other and stick together. And
leave it to Ryan to make a food reference.
I mean, but it's like they overlap with each other and stick together. And if you have something inside that syrup, like the syrup is a conduit that allows it to move freely between the different pancakes. You see what I'm saying? Like they're
okay.
So, however,
now I want pancakes.
I was about to say the same damn thing. Now I want pancakes.
Let's go for pancakes after this, Blake.
And so that allows these different dimensions to share their own reality momentarily, if for a certain period of time. Once the syrup is removed, they're just pancakes again, unless you've already eaten them. But
Okay.
so these dimensions, under the right set of circumstances, are able to interact with each other, and may explain why we're able to interact with these beings or entities from elsewhere momentarily, or catch glimpses in ours. Because, think about, if you see like a shadow figure or you see a ghost, rarely do you see it sustained for a long amount of time.
Right.
Like, you see it like a fleeting glimpse, or you see, like, you see something go across the sky you can't explain. You'll see a fleeting glimpse, like it's there 1 minute and then the next minute it's not. So whenever the conditions are just right, these things are able to exist in their reality and our reality, or their dimension. Sorry, something just crashed in the kitchen. They're able to exist in their dimension and our dimension at the same time, and able to sustain. And that's why we're having this paranormal activity. I mean, just look at like the Mothman case and John Keel. I mean, he had all of this strange activity going on. You had UFOs, you had the Mothman sightings. People reported having poltergeist activity, which poltergeist activity has really nothing to do with UFO and cryptid sightings. So why is this poltergeist activity also happening in these areas where the veil just seems to be thin? So I think, and two, I think that could also land. We talk about the paranormal bubble theory, where whenever you have intense paranormal activity, it's almost like everything gets silent around you, right? Like, and the birds start you hear the ambient noise you hear, or like the birds stop chirping. It's almost like you're like in a dome, and it's a possibility that maybe you are in the overlap area where these two dimensions are, and everything else happening around you, that's making noise, but you're stuck in wherever this veil is thinning.
Which is why the ambient noise isn't able to.
Right, and the ambient noise isn't able to penetrate.
The world is continuing outside of that bubble, but in
that
moment, those two realities are converging.
Are crossing over and converging with each other, and that's why.
I think
go ahead.
I just want to say this just real quick, because I know some of the listeners may be getting confused. I think what we need to condense here is when we say realms, dimensions, realities, there's a lot of people that believe that these are basically, you can use these kind of interchangeably.
Yeah, right.
So when I'm talking about realms existing alongside ours, Ryan's talking about dimensions being stacked on top of each other. Think of all of that as the same thing. These, put it into worlds, if you will, these little worlds.
Think about it like a neighborhood. Whatever. I live in my house. That's my reality. Next door is their reality. And sometimes we meet and have a barbecue.
Exactly.
Okay?
Exactly.
Yeah. Now I want barbecue.
I know, I want barbecue too. Can we go for a barbecue after this? But yeah, think of it like that's the way I think of it. That's the way that in my brain, that I dumb it down for me. It's like a neighborhood. Each little house is its own reality, but we coexist in the same neighborhood. And sometimes we go out and talk to our neighbor, and that's our realities converging. That's my easiest way to think of it.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean,
and if your neighbor is like really hot, then the world around you stops existing for a minute. And you don't.
That's right. And yes. Whenever you see the chick in the bikini mowing the yard, and you go, suddenly there ain't nothing else that exists. You in that bubble, and you're going,
were you in my car today? I seen that happening earlier.
Or the really good looking dude out there washing his great big truck, and you're like, boy.
See, we put it on terms everybody can understand.
That's right. Everybody understands. That's your paranormal bubble part right there, when the world stops and you stare.
Right.
So yeah.
And it's just, like when we had like Mike Ricksecker on, and he was talking about, I think, and this oh shit, Shelly went away. She went to another dimension. I think that this proves what I'm talking about whenever he was talking about when they went and drilled in the ice in Antarctica around 2020, and they had that certain particle that was coming up through the ice that only comes down from the sun. So they're like, well, how the hell is that happening? Because there's not a sun underneath the earth. So somehow there's a parallel reality running alongside where these things are able to escape and make it into our reality. So,
or maybe it was from a meteor or an asteroid that hit the Earth billions of years ago.
I mean, maybe, but I don't know if like these are actively moving particles though, and that's how they couldn't explain that. How is that happening?
So, what are you saying? in your working theory of all this interdimensionality with how we get to experience paranormal activity, cryptids, aliens, any of that, I guess my biggest question is like, what do you think has to happen for those two to blend together? Is it is it a fine tuning of frequencies? Like, do
I'm saying-
these dimensions exist, maybe, or realms, or whatever word you use, exist at different frequencies, and so therefore, when the frequencies match, the activity is experienced?
That's another thing that Michio Kaku says as well. He's like right now you're sitting in this room, right? And there could be that there are dinosaurs in the room with you that exist on another frequency. You just can't perceive it because you're not tuned into that frequency. Like it's like another radio station. Like all these things are like different radio stations, and you're just not tuned into it. And then maybe there is something, because there have been people.
Sometimes your knee hits it and it flips the chip,
right? You know,
flips the station. Go crap! You try to get back to yours
because there have been people who have cited what they thought was some sort of like prehistoric animal, and it doesn't make sense to them. Like there's no reason it should exist here,
right?
But maybe they just happen to be dialed into that frequency at the right particular moment in time somehow, and they were able to perceive that dinosaur. So
see,
I want a dinosaur.
Well, that's the interesting part of it to me, because like where I was talking about, like in my theory, like what they are, I didn't necessarily touch on like how it's experienced. And that's something that I've been rolling around in my brain too, that if it's these two dimensions, these two realms, these two realities converge on top of one another and therefore exist at the same time inside this bubble, what causes that? And that's why I wanted to hear your take on the frequency, because we have been in several locations where you two have seen something and I don't. But you're both clearly seeing it. You're both tracking it. You're both following exactly the same.
We're identifying the same places. It's standing.
Absolutely.
Exactly. But I can't see it. And so I attribute that to the frequency. You know, it's like these things, this dimension, this realm, this reality that this shadow figure, let's say, exists on, because that's usually number one thing that I don't see that y'all do.
Right.
Exist on a dimension, realm, or that has a frequency that I am not tuned into. But you two are. So that's what I've always wondered, if that's what is the one thing, because yes, we can measure data points, scientific data points. Oh, the temperature was this, the barometric pressure was this, the dew point was this. But I still think that there is that one little bitty piece of scientific evidence that we're missing somehow of how this gets replicated time and again.
Well, and the human experience can't be discounted either. Just because you don't collect it on a data point, or you don't have anyone else that sees it with you or experiences it with you, does not mean it did not happen for you.
And that's getting into a whole nother thing too, where it's like certain individuals are only meant to experience certain things. And I truly think that as well, because think about there are people who are paranormal enthusiasts that so badly want to see something, and nothing ever happens to them.
Right.
And then there are people who don't want to see a ghost, period, but they go about their daily lives and they're haunted, you know? So I think that also plays into it too. And that could be just be resonance and frequency. That's what that could be. Like there just happen to be dialed in to whatever that is, and that thing is able to show itself to that particular person. But the person who wants to see it may not be dialed into that frequency and not be able to perceive whatever it is we're interacting with.
So I have a question. In this theory of parallel universes, realms, and realities, that you're going with the interdimensionality, is there any documented scientific evidence anywhere that there is a specific frequency that needs to be reached in order to have these experiences?
I mean, that's a very good question. I don't know if there is an actual frequency.
Because if so, we're going to do some fork tuning or something and hitting that frequency, and we're going to be experiencing some stuff. I'm ready.
I mean, like we talked about Barney and Betty Hill last week. They were talking about like whenever they experience that UFO, it's almost like someone hit a tuning fork, and they were able to like experience that vibration and hear that tuning fork and those beeps. They could just have existed on that frequency wherever this thing came from.
That's what I want to know. Is there any documented anything that says that whenever this frequency is heard? Because we've talked to Jack Vasey. And Jack Vasey can tell you that you can go to a certain area, and he almost always has a cryptid sighting. And that there's a certain feeling in the air. So I'm guessing, and I'm only guessing, that is some kind of frequency or reverberation
could be
in the earth from the ground at some point. And I was wondering if that has ever been measured. Jack, get on that.
Well, I think I do know. Here's off the top of my head with the frequency stuff that I've looked into. I do know that there is infrasound.
No, yeah.
That when when that's played, it is said to, which it can't, it's too low to be, I guess, consciously heard or whatever, or be able to be heard
By
by the human
most.
ear.
Yeah, by most.
By most. I know that induces unease and anxiety and stuff. Sometimes I believe it's been known to cause like hallucinations, maybe,
Oh, yeah.
and visual distortions, paranoia, stuff like that. So I don't know if using that frequency and exhibiting those emotions on ourself almost produces like a self-haunting type situation.
Could.
Where it's like you're causing your body to react to this low frequency that causes unease, anxiety, and therefore certain things start happening. But is that the frequency itself, or is that actual paranormal activity? That's
right. I mean, that is the $1 million question, because go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, and I also know that there's also the I'm gonna butcher this or forget it altogether. The Earth's natural frequency. What is the name of it? The Schumann.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
is it the Schumann resonance?
Maybe. I think it is.
It's the frequency of Earth's electromagnetic field.
Right.
And I know that whenever like it's been like, I don't know, a crazy day around here. Let's just say it going sideways, and then I'll pop on Facebook and somebody's like, "Oh, the resonance is off the charts," and I'm like, well, that'd explain it, because the Earth's natural frequency is going berserk right now. Yeah, I think that there's a lot more to this frequency thing than we realize.
Right, and that's how maybe if we would take it to UFOs, maybe that's how they're able to pop in and out so quickly, because they change their frequency and we can't perceive them anymore. Cryptids as well. Like people talk about like Bigfoot, seeing Bigfoot, and all of a sudden he's just not there. Well, maybe he recognizes that you can see him and he changes his frequency, and you just can't perceive Bigfoot anymore.
So he pops into a different realm?
Yeah, essentially.
He goes, beam me up, Z. Okay, here I go, and I'm gone.
I mean, he could pop into a different realm wherever he exists.
I don't know. I don't think we can. Yeah, I think that there's the frequency in these overlaps of these dimensions, realms, and realities has a lot more to play than we think. Because what I was also going to say is that you also have the I know I work a lot with, oh my God, I'm going to butcher the name as well. Solfeggio frequencies, which are the basically like kind of spiritual tuning frequencies. Your 528. Of course, I'm going to blank on all the frequencies right now. But anyways, those who know what I'm talking about know the different frequencies, and they are for, higher alignment. They're for healing. They're for, it's the things you use for deep rest too. Your black noise and all that kind of brown noise and shit. Where was I going to after that? Dang it, I was going to go somewhere else after that, and I can't remember where I was going to go. It had to do with frequencies, but oh well. Anyways, yeah.
Well, you're saying you think there's more to the whole frequency thing, and
yeah, I just think that there's a lot more to it, because I do remember where I was going to go, because hasn't it been proven that, isn't it one of Mozart's compositions has been proven to actually reduce breast cancer?
Oh, that's new to me. I haven't heard that one.
Oh God,
I've heard that, but it's to
or a cancer period.
What it is that it stimulates cells to heal themselves, and they played it. And I've seen this study. I know what you're talking about. They played it in a room of infants that were in neonatal intensive care, and that after a certain amount of time, these babies actually begin to show signs of healing and getting well. I've seen this study. I know what you're talking about, and I do not remember which, but it is Mozart. You are correct.
Yeah, it's called the Mozart effect.
Yeah, I don't remember which one of his symphonies or sonatas is played, but yeah, I've seen that study.
Yeah, that's new to me. I haven't heard that one. That's really interesting.
Oh, you got to look into it, and that's why I think that there's so much more to this frequency stuff than we realize, because they've done the study on that. It's called the Mozart effect. That when, like Shelley said, you play Mozart for cancer patients, it helps to reduce the cancer cells within the body. But then you also go into the solfeggio frequencies, and I just had to look them up. But anyways, because I can't remember them all off the top of my head. But there's 396, there's 417, 528, 639, 741, 852. Those all do different things within your subconscious, within your body. There's 174, 963, 285. That's a lot of it's like healing, deep relief. And, you know, I listen to one at night to fall asleep to that is for deep healing and deep sleep. And when I wake up the next day, like I feel really refreshed. It's really kind of freaky. Yeah, I don't know. I think that the frequencies have a lot to do.
Right.
I think the vibrational frequencies that these things exist on,
well,
we get to tune into, and they blur, and therefore we experience paranormal activity.
And think about too, like whenever we're communicating, a lot of the times when we're on investigations or we're in these areas, we're communicating with these things. What are we using? We're using a spirit box 9 times out of 10, and these things are talking to us, and we're changing frequencies constantly.
Yep.
Trying to figure out where these things are and where they exist.
Yeah.
So, so I mean, that's just what I think. I think that there are these other dimensions stacked on top of us, and somehow, some way, the conditions are just right, and then we overlap and we have all this activity happen. So I hope that made sense.
No, it did. That was a very interesting section of this, because I love that theory. I love the blurring of the interdimensions. But Shelley, you have one that actually has a connection where you might be in more than one because of a certain thing that happens.
I do think, and my theory is on people that are able to communicate with spirits, ghosts, whatever you want to call them, anything in the paranormal, that I found that the majority of them at some point in their life have had a near-death experience. And very quickly, we get to meet, we're fortunate enough we get to meet and talk to a lot of different people. And people that I found that are extremely in tune, up to and including people who have been experiencers with aliens, also medium psychics, have had at some point a near-death experience. Now, I'll talk from experience real quick. For me, at 3 days old, the doctors told my parents that I was going to die. And basically, I had not eaten in 3 days. I had knots all in my stomach, and they were basically going to have to go in and cut me open. And I was more than likely not going to survive the anesthesia. I was already in a very weakened state, and I lived. I have also been in 2 rollover car accidents, neither one my fault, that I should not have walked out of, because the car was completely destroyed except for exactly where I was sitting both times. And I've had actually 3 times had someone put a gun in my face and threaten to pull the trigger. One was during a robbery. There are a lot of times that I've had a near-death experience, and I have been seeing things and experiencing things and communicating with things for as long as I can remember. So I have this theory that if you have had one of those, that actually makes you more open and available to being able to communicate with things that are not of this realm or are not of this earth. And that includes demonic, alien, cryptid, spirits, anything that is not what the average person sees on a daily basis. You basically keep 1 foot in this realm and you have 1 foot in the other, because you've, for a moment, been on both sides. People that have had near-death experiences in hospitals, sometimes they will say that they saw themselves out of their body, floating over their body and witnessing what was going on, and that they had to make the decision to come back. There are also people who say that in that moment where perhaps they had flatlined, and doctors are vigorously trying to revive them with, I can't think of the thing, the machine that shocks your heart back into rhythm.
Not CPAP. What the hell is it?
CPAP, not the CPAP. The defibrillator.
Yes, defibrillator. Yes.
Thank you. That they have seen angels. That they've seen angels. That they have also seen demons. That they have also seen their loved ones. So my theory is that if you have had a near-death experience, that you are actually more prone now to interact with the spirit world, the alien world, the cryptid world, angels and demons, because you've actually had a foot in their realm at some point. So what do you guys think on this?
Well, I was going to ask you, so do you, because we always say in the paranormal world, once you notice them, they notice you. And do you think maybe that's why that is? Because you have stepped foot into their world and they see you, and then they're like, oh, this person is, maybe it's not their time yet. Maybe they, you're revived or whatever. And they're like, but this person has been here. This person has punched through the veil. They're more willing to talk to me than, Ed, the accountant who's just going to work. You know what I'm saying? Like,
well, I'm gonna correct one part of your language there. Is more willing to.
mm-hmm,
I've been having experiences for as long as I can remember, and I know it's going to make me
mm-hmm,
sound crazy, but I mean, you guys already know this, but the
Mhm.
other, people watching may not.
right.
I have seen things since I was very little, things that I couldn't explain, things that I couldn't understand.
Mm-hmm,
Had an imaginary friend that I talked to all the time when I was little. Wasn't even 5 years old, and I'm talking to her, and she had a name, and I would pour her, or have tea parties with her. And my mother at one point has a video of me, and I'm carrying on a conversation. I'm stopping, I'm listening, I'm interacting, I'm talking to whoever this is, and apparently they're answering me and talking back to me.
Yeah.
And
mm-hmm,
this one that I saw, and I'd seen this one on numerous occasions, and even whenever I would travel, would go with my grandparents' places. And there was one place we went out in the piney woods of East Texas. We went to Mineola and out on the lake. And I still remember asking my grandmother if I could go out and play with the little girl that was outside, because the little girl was outside going, hey, she's waving. And my grandmother's looking outside going, there's no little girl up there. I'm like, yeah, she's right there. She's waving at me. Can I go play with her? And so, as far as willing to, I think if it happens really young, I think you kind of don't get a choice. I think they just
mm-hmm,
start talking to you, and you don't know that it's okay to go, I don't want to talk to you.
mm-hmm.
So I think that, yeah, I think that because you, at one point, you walked through their door, well, intentionally or unintentionally. And, I do believe too, people that have, I'm going to be very careful how I say this, people that have at some point decided that they were going to end their time on this earth, and
Mhm.
for whatever reason were not successful or changed their mind, I think that they also have the ability to communicate, because in that moment they were in that thought process of, I am about to be on the other side. And I'm trying to say this as delicately as I can.
Right.
I think that because they were in that mindset and that thought process, I think that actually opens them up too, because that's almost saying, I want to come where
Mm-hmm.
you are. I don't want to be here.
Right.
And so I think that actually opens up their ability to interact as well. That's not the way I would recommend doing it. Please don't do that.
Okay.
Please don't do
No.
that ever, ever.
Well,
Please, we want you here.
right. But, and do you think then that in order for you to be able to communicate with whatever these things are, whatever you want to call them, that you have had to experience a trauma in your life that allowed you to be able to communicate with them?
Well, mine is that you have to have a near-death experience.
Which is a trauma.
Yeah, not necessarily. I don't think that's the key for everyone. But I'm saying that in my experience, I've met a lot of people, and if you talk to them, a lot of them
Mhm.
have at some point had a near-death experience, had a heart attack they survived, had a
Mm-hmm.
bout with cancer that they're now in remission for, were in a very bad car wreck and survived it. Um, you know, I think that it's not necessarily a trauma, because it's just like some people just made the choice not to.
Mm-hmm.
Some people were just, okay, I'm going in, it's a routine surgery. Something goes
Right.
really wrong. That wasn't
Right.
really traumatic. They were aware of it. Okay, we know, yeah, we're worried about it. And then something goes wrong, and then, okay, now they've been revived and brought back from it, from whatever it was that went wrong. Well, yeah, it was scary, but in the moment, you weren't really experiencing that trauma. You were told about it
Right.
later, and it scared the hell out of you. But in the
Right.
moment, you
I
actually
don't.
stepped foot across
Okay.
that line.
I don't necessarily mean like, because in that way, like I'm saying, like a physical trauma, like like that is a physical trauma because they died, even though they might not remember it happened. They died on the table and went away and came. That is a physical trauma that happened
Yeah,
to them.
okay.
I guess I'm speaking more in that sense. Do you think that someone has to have had some sort of something like that, not some sort of something like that, for them to be able to communicate with the other side more effectively?
I don't think it's a requirement, but I will tell you, I mean, we all know that people who have dealt also
Mm-hmm.
with domestic abuse,
Mm-hmm.
people that have been marginalized,
Mm-hmm.
and that have suffered some sort of injustice, whether physically, spiritually, emotionally, sexually, that a lot of times that because of a trauma like that, they actually do have more of an ability to communicate. And I go back again to, it's like anybody that's experienced that at some level, there's a point where they go, I don't want to be here anymore. And I think again, that's that choice of, you know, we'll go, dear God, I'll do anything, you know, take me now because I just need this to stop.
Right.
So I think it's because they've seen that other side, whether or not they actually died or not. So yeah, I think there might be a trauma involved, and some people just have the gift and the ability and have never had anything traumatic happen to them.
I think that's a whole different theory, though.
Yeah, I agree.
With that level, inherited gifts, you know,
Yeah.
And how they get passed down. I will say that as a child, I was an extremely, extremely sick baby. Weirdly enough, this conversation has come up very recent with my mom and other people that were in the room. And of course, I don't have any memory or recollection of it because I was far too young. But at a very young age, I think I almost died. I think my mom said like 2 or 3 times. I was extremely sick. I had issues with my lungs. I had asthma. I had pneumonia all the time whenever I was a kid. And several times I almost passed away from that. And I do remember at a very young age having these experiences where I would feel something in the room with me, something watching me, you know, and then at 13, I had my great grandmother standing at the foot of my bed. There's also the story of the Santa Claus that if y'all don't know that story, y'all can go watch the origin story episode and hear that, where we experience what I classify as an angelic or real life Santa Claus, where he came into the room, he gave me a present, gave my brothers and sister a present, all age appropriate, the last 4 presents in his bag, walked out the door closed. My mom grabbed it right as it closed, opened it up, Santa was gone. No recollection or anybody had seen him on the floor.
That's because Santa's real.
Well, yeah. But
Santa's
anyways,
real.
anywho, it's these things growing up that I was able to experience that I think that those near-death experiences as a young baby have something to do with, because Ryan, going back to your point and tying it into one of mine of, hey, you've been on this side, we know this person. I think there's a shared energy there as well. I think that's why people who have near-death experiences are able to communicate, more willing to communicate, or have more what they would classify as intense, I guess you could say, paranormal activity happening around them, is because of that shared energy of you being on that side, but now you're still on this side. I think the spirits recognize that, and I think that they're drawn to that because you have a shared energy of being on the other side of the veil. So yeah, I'm always fascinated by near-death experiences because, you know, a lot of people will pass it off as just lack of oxygen during, you know, something happening that causes hallucinations, you know, or if it's a defense mechanism to your body experiencing a certain level of trauma, such as car wrecks, blah, 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 you know, and being able to cope with that and having, and your mind disassociating from the trauma that's associated with those things. But I say, how can we discount that? If you've ever been lucky, and I'm going to use the term lucky, to be with somebody at the end of their life when they're transitioning to the other side, it is such a beautiful moment, as heartbreaking as it is. I have been able to be a part of several of them. And I remember specifically sitting in the room with my great grandfather being one of them. He's in the hospice bed. I am seated at his left. Nobody else is in the room. And he just starts kind of motioning like towards the door with his hand, like, go away, go away. And he literally points and goes, not now, not yet. And I kind of look over, and we called him Dad. And I said, Dad, who are you talking to? And he just turns to me and goes, it's your nanny. Well, that was my great grandmother, his wife, who passed away 8 years before he did. And I was like, well, you can tell her to go on for now. She can come back and collect you at a later date, because we ain't quite ready. You ain't quite ready. Not everybody has gotten to say bye. So you tell her to go on. And he did. He looked at her and he was like, not now, go away. And when you watch these people who are near death, and I know near death experience, you go to the other side, you come back. But when you watch people who are near death, period, and how they interact with the environment around them, there is so many cases where they are talking to people who are on the other side or across the veil, or entities that are across the veil. So I don't know. I think having those experiences and being able to come back and still live this life, I think absolutely makes you more prone, susceptible to paranormal, accessible even, yes, to paranormal activity. I think it has more to do with the shared energy and the blurring of those dimensions. It's almost like a combination of all three of what we've been talking about tonight. You have blurred these dimensions. You are interdimensional yourself. You have a shared energy with these beings on the other side. Therefore, they see you and they're drawn to you, eliciting more paranormal activity in your presence and the ability to converse with them. Make it all go one circle back.
Just don't know why mine gotta be mean that want to talk to me.
I say, you're the only little girl I ever know that saw goats running around your damn room at the middle of the night. So
that again, Shelley, falls back to shared energy. If you're a bitch, you attract bitches.
So no, that's what you were like interpreting that they were, but like I mean, whatever. Since you did have that time on the other side, like, or
had you close,
or were very close to that, like I said, maybe they were like, So
I find all this fascinating. In all of this, since we now presented all this, we kind of discussed all of them. It's interesting how much they all blend together. If you really think about it, like from what I was talking about to what Ryan was talking about to now what Shelley's talking about, how we can literally make this full circle moment take place.
An earthbound spirit or a near-death experience communicating through a parallel universe because you have feet in both worlds. All works.
It all works. And
I'm here for it.
I know, me too. I think that's what makes the paranormal for me. This is going to be my final thoughts on this. I think that's what makes the paranormal for me. I think that's what grabs my attention about it is the curiosity behind it, because it is not something yet that we can put to a scientific standard of replicating over and over and over again in a controlled environment or in a laboratory. Trust me, shout out to Ghost Geeks and Old Park Hotel, Chad and Leslie. They are trying their damnedest to set that place up as big of a laboratory as they possibly can, to where we can understand more about why these things happen and when. But that's what draws it to me, is when you get people talking about it, how much all of it blends together, and you really can create these kind of full circle moments where it all just converges together.
It's not this or that. It's yes and.
Yes. Exactly. Yeah. So that's kind of my final thoughts on it. I'm glad we did. I'm glad we discussed this a little bit. This one was fun tonight. What are your final thoughts?
Final thoughts, Ryan?
Same thing. I mean, it's like I said, it's not this or that. It's yes and. Like all these ideas can exist in the same realm, and it's just different interpretations of what we're talking about and how we can explain it for people to understand. I like you're saying, like the amount of ideas that exist within the paranormal realm that all kind of make sense, or it's fascinating to me. So I'm with Blake. I'm glad we did this one, and we all kind of like took different stances, but we all came full circle at the end.
Yeah.
And my final thought is that I think that just because an experience, to kind of go back to Blake's, just because an experience doesn't have a quantifiable amount of data, doesn't mean it's actually not being experienced or happening. I think that, again, on Ryan's, it comes back to a paranormal bubble. Some people are meant to experience certain things. And I think that you're experiencing them because that is something necessary for you. And it's meant only for you. And it is a gift, and it is a treasure. And again, if you're known on one side, we're big believers in this. If you're known on one side and known on the other, guess what? They're going to see you and recognize you and come back to you and try to communicate with you. And at the end of the day, if you want to talk to them, tell them just go away, knock it off. As I always say, knock that shit off, not tonight. That's what you say to my husband too. Never mind. Anyway, and with that, Blake, why don't you tell them everything I need to go know?
All right, sounds good. A few announcements for y'all. If you want to support the show directly, check out our Patreon page. That is patreon.com/EVP podcast, 2 P's. For just $5 a month, you will unlock over 450 Patreon exclusive videos, including the pre and post broadcast, which are the 30 minutes before and the 30 minutes after this live broadcast. So you're getting an additional hour with us each week. Your support for this goes directly back to the show and towards the adventures we bring you week after week. If you are not sure about joining that Patreon, try it risk-free with our 7-day free trial. I don't think you'll be disappointed. Make sure you stay connected. Yeah, you might be. But make sure you stay connected with us. Follow us on Facebook, YouTube, and many more by searching Everything Vaguely Paranormal and looking for the green sound wave. Remember, you can catch us live every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook and YouTube. If you'd like to meet us in person and come hang out, the choices are slightly dwindling, but you still got plenty. We are going to be headed back to the center of the country this weekend for the KC Paracon on August 2nd in Kansas City. There will be celebrity speakers, vendors, and an investigation taking place. Tickets can be purchased at paraconkc.com. Then we are headed west September 3rd through the 6th to Vernal, Utah. For Phenomenon 2025, that is going to include some of the biggest names in the paranormal: Dave Schrader, Jack Osborne, Cindy Keza, Amy Bruni. The list goes on and on and on. No
Skinwalker Ranch cast.
On and on.
Fucking George Knapp is going to be there. I am so fucking jazzed about that.
It is a week-long conference, and tickets can be purchased at phenomenon.net. I do know that they are currently sold out of their VIP package, but there is still general admission tickets available. September 27th, we will be in Independence, Missouri at the Masonic Temple with Epic VIP Events LLC with the mysterious Mike and Sam for the Parathon with Johnny Hauser, Josh Hurd, Stephanie O'Reilly, and many more. That event is 18 and up. We do want to let you know that, but those tickets can be purchased online at Eventbrite through the mysterious Mike and Sam. And finally, we'll be attending the Rock Island Roadhouse Esoteric Expo on October the 4th in Rock Island, Illinois. It is a weekend of speakers, psychics. Let me try that again. Physics could be physics
involved.
Yeah.
It's a weekend of speakers, psychics, mediums, metaphysics. There we go. And I hear that the real Annabelle will be making her appearance as well. So those tickets can be purchased through Extreme Ticketing. That is Extreme with only an X, extremeticketing.com/Rock Island Roadhouse /tickets. So make sure you go subscribe to our Eventbrite page as well to be notified when public investigation tickets go on sale. We do have the Old Park, and I'm not sure if that is sold out. It's in October.
We haven't checked. We've been busy.
Yeah.
We've been driving.
Anyways, 2-night event at the Old Park.
A lot of driving.
So go check out. Yeah, I haven't kept up with that. Sorry. But to make this easier, we have added all of these links to our link tree, which will be on the Everything Vaguely Paranormal Facebook and X profiles Wednesday morning at 8 a.m. Central Standard Time. Or you can search linktr.ee/Everything Vaguely Paranormal. We are grateful for your continued support. Every like, comment, share, and download keeps the adventures alive. So if you have a favorite episode, share it with your friends. If you have a story, comment, or a question, or if you would like to be a guest on the show or have us as guests on your show, email us at the evppod@gmail.com. That is THEEVPPOD@gmail.com.
Go like, share, and subscribe to that YouTube page. Smash that like button. Give us a thumbs up.
Absolutely. Well, y'all, we thank y'all for joining us for a little roundtable of paranormal theories tonight. Another weekly episode of Everything Vaguely Paranormal. As always, I am Blake Smith. For my partners in the paranormal, Miss Shelley Pruitt, Mr. Ryan Roberts. As always, we will see you next Tuesday.
Bye-bye.
Bye, y'all.
Bye, y'all.